slow and steady over top of that.
Yeah,
And then the legs
that's it. I've seen that count before.
Exactly. You're just going to be cooking loads of energy going up there and not making much
I've
difference.
got 2 bars of chocolate, mate. So coming over top with it all around my face.
It's lovely, lovely start to the day.
Going for the spikes.
Going for the spikes. We're halfway into day 2. We're at the base of Mount Kabla. Now this has become famous because it's not only the most technical part of the course, they've got a huge climb up to the top, but actually it's where the weather becomes the most vicious on a bad weather day. We've had runners go over this section and not see even in front of their nose. Today, however, Sweden has delivered. It's cold, -10, -15, but is beautifully clear. Now we're hundreds of miles away from any other humans here, so they will get a full 360 view of a place that looks like Mars. It's going to be barren, desolate, and they're going to get this real feeling of being alone. So they're climbing up this huge hill behind me, and then they've just got this open plateau for miles where they'll see the best of Swedish Lapland. They are going to have to keep their skin covered though. That wind is whipping, and the amount of eye injuries or skin injuries we'll get if they're not covered will be really high. So we're prepping them, we're bundling them up, but today is the kind of day where Sweden's going to really deliver.
You get to my age, you just tap it out, lad. That's the reality.
Yeah.
You get out of bed, it's a good day. You get out of bed and you're in the mountains, it's a bad day. You get out of the mountains and you're in the Arctic Ultra, it's fucking unbelievable.
There's 4 of us mates who've done a lot of these silly things over the years. It's been 25 years since we met, so we're using a good. We're all approaching 50. So we still can push ourselves.
It's the night of day 2 of the 2025 Ice Ultra, and we're here at the Årrenjarka Mountain Lodge. It takes its name from the Sami word for peninsula of squirrels, and it definitely feels like that. It's a beautiful little secluded space. Because
Can't move for them.
Yeah, can't move for the squirrels.
Loads of them about.
Jesus, it's like Basil Brush over here. Or you wish there was Basil Brush around. Anyway, it's surrounded by a frozen lake. It's pretty cool, pretty spectacular little spot. The runners are bedding down in these cosy little cabins. And yeah, it's the first opportunity really to get their kit dry, to get out of their wet socks and wet boots and cozy in for the evening. And yeah, hopefully that keeps the freedom in the race. We're past the point where if you're going to DNF, you're probably going to do it today, aren't you? So we're past the point where, for many of them, that they're really worried about. And we're going to now see some really fast, exciting times over the next couple of days.
Yep, they're going to be rewarded hopefully with some northern lights tonight. So hopefully if they're up and they're awake and they get up in the night and look up, they'll see them. But yeah, this race is almost like a race of 2 halves. They have the mountainous stage in the first 2 days. And we know that actually if you can get to the end of this stage in good shape, even though you've got another marathon to do tomorrow on a big, huge frozen lake, you've got a long stage to do, which is 64k after that, and the 15k thing. Once people get to this place in good order, we know their chances of finishing are quite high. So it's, if they wake up in the morning, they can move okay, they've not got anything majorly wrong, chances of finish are pretty good because they've done the hardest bit. They kind of just need to grind out the distance now, which these guys will be experienced at in many cases.
Absolutely, and as many of you will have seen in the video just before this, the stage up on Kabla was pretty, it's strange, isn't it? Because it's mild, there's less snow, and that wind-scoured wind slab, it's nasty. There's really like a crust, like an inch thick, and the lighter runners, like Ioana, dancing over the top with no bother at all. Mark Rhodes or some of the bigger lads further back. Carl was having some trouble. They're heavy guys, punching, post-holing their way through it all the time. And it's up to your knees, up to your waist.
Well, there's a lot of people that nearly came unstuck. Alex, front runner, came in, couldn't feel his entire right-hand side from getting wind blasted. Mark looked pretty ropey as he was coming in. Because you've got to remember, they're not only doing this, they're racing each other. So they're actually pushing on the edges of what they can do. They're always looking over their shoulder. The distance goes on. You can see through this whole landscape for such a while that little dot is the person chasing you, so it makes you run. So yeah, there were some exhausted people out there, and as you went further back and further back, they were even more exhausted because they've been out there for longer. And it's
deceptive
exposed,
too,
it's
right?
a very exposed area.
It's Kabla is massive. It's a big, it's massively exposed hill with a huge wind plane and a big plateau on the top. I mean, it feels like you're on the surface of the moon.
Yeah.
When you're up there, it's barren, it's desolate, but the wind really whip and pick up. And I mean, it might only be -10. But by the time you chuck the wind on top of that, and the winds were going fast, it can feel like -20. You know?
Yeah, it feels like a -20 today for sure. Yeah. Absolutely.
Which, it is deceptive. Any little bit of loose skin you've got out is going to be wind chill.
We've got that. We've got some eye injuries coming. We've got some wind burned injuries. All those things come from heavy whip snow.
Yeah, even just been out on the snow bike coming in, my face was red raw when I just around where I had the balaclava on. So anybody that's going to be out there for a long time, it definitely is tough. But talking about those that haven't been out there for a super long time, great run today from Alex Welch, once again winning the stage, and he told me he was running 4 30-minute kilometers at one point, and he had to dry himself. He was like, right, I need to stop now or I'm going to burst myself. And he did. He bonked hard about checkpoint 3, didn't he?
Yeah, and it's a game of fine margins in these environments, right? He's racing hard, he's feeling good 1 minute, and the next minute he's nearly out of the race, and he's having to turn himself round. And so he was on the flat lakes this morning, moving really well. He thought, I better slow this down. Then he got to that point. I think it took him completely by surprise. But it's his race to lose now. He's built in a massive buffer. Realistically, I don't think there's anyone quicker than him on the flats. So he looks pretty good this evening. It looks like he's made a good recovery. So it's his to lose now, and he should be able to punch through these next couple of stages and keep that lead, and probably, I would imagine, quite largely extend it.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, he's sat at the moment just 2 hours ahead of our lead female, Ioana, who's second overall, and then third overall and second place male, Mark Rhodes. We were thinking that if Mark was going to take him anywhere, it was going to be on the hilly stuff. And he's put some time into it. He was good today, but Alex is a flat, fast runner, and Mark's a diesel tractor. He'll say himself, he wants the steep stuff, he wants the grim stuff, where he can move at a consistent pace. But when he's on the flat, Alex is just untouchable.
Well, I think you've got, in the first 2 days of this, you've got your climbers and your expedition athletes pairing up against runners, and we've had interesting battles in the past with John Shield and Lenker and all these kind of masses of different runners and athletes facing it off, and they become quite even. Alex has managed to put a lead in an area where he's not overly comfortable. I feel like Alex's risk was the first 2 days.
Yep.
If he was going to do anything wrong, it was the first 2 days. Now he's in his comfort zone.
Yeah.
Mark has been training to be fast, though. So the race now, Alex is to mess up. Ioana and Mark, who are friends from the jungle, are now racing each other.
They're actually pushing each other on. It's really good.
They are helping each other and racing each other at the same time, which is great. Those two doing that are starting to build a buffer by those behind them. But I feel like Mark now, who thought he was just racing Ioana, has now got company in Dave.
Yeah.
And so the two northern lads are duking it out. And I think tomorrow is going to be super interesting because I think Dave's going to put his foot down. And that's it. The race starts tomorrow.
Like the Terminator on the hills is Dave. So he was really, really strong, but he's just consistent, isn't he? Yeah. Mark was saying he was just looking over his shoulder. And actually, it's an uncomfortable position to be in. And one that, you make one tiny nav error. Yeah. You stay at a checkpoint too long. Yeah. Like you lose a half an hour gap like that.
Yeah. So Dave's also experienced in our jungle, different year to Mark and Ioana, but experienced runner. And then you've got a gaggle behind them, including the Swiss lads, Christoph, who's righted a wrong, DNF'd that stage last time he was here with his friend Stefan, Stefan's joking that he's a windbreak for Christoph. And, he's got a calorie tax on him. But yeah, you've got a load of people now, and I think tomorrow evening, going into the long stage, we'll know who's going to be racing who, and I think there's going to be some fine margins in it.
Yeah, talking about fine margins, for those further back, they're out there the longest. It's dark pretty early out here this time of year. Kabla was getting windier as we were coming over it, and those further back are going to be having smashed for hours and hours and hours. Fine margins are, can you keep a 3 km/h pace, 4 km/h pace when your knees are sore, if you're carrying a latent injury in, if you're maybe haven't quite managed your kit right, you know, those margins between DNFing and continuing at the back are slim. I mean, they arguably have the hardest job of all. If they get in here at 11 o'clock tonight, they've got almost no rest time to dry kit, get sorted, do admin before they get back up to do it again tomorrow. 90 kilometres in now. This is when you start to see it separate out a little bit between those that are going to finish and those that aren't.
Yeah, I mean, the back markers now, you've got Delete, Gitta, Pablo, and
Grizia
as a 4, all helping each other through. Delete, mountain ultra finisher, Gitta, again, again, experienced runners, but they, to put it in perspective, Alex was getting in just after midday, just before, and
2 p.m. Alex came in.
Was it 2 p.m.? Yeah, so 2 p.m. So just after midday. So he's been resting here, and he will have rested for close to 11. What was it? 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah, 8 hours more. Yeah. They've been exposed to the elements. 8 hours more today. Probably yesterday the same. So they've had 16 hours more exposure to the cold than Alex. And so it's an impressive thing either way. You've got to celebrate someone like Alex and the guys at the front that are racing. But these guys who are out in this stuff for longer, having to turn around, lack of sleep and move, it's good. But they seem to be helping each other up, and we're expecting them in the next few hours. You've also got the fine margins of the female race.
Yes.
So now Ioana's kind of put like a good buffer between her and the rest of the ladies.
And she's only going to get faster on the flat. Yeah, Ioana is like a flat runner.
Yeah, so she's good in the hills, but she's going to fly. So, in the female race, it's almost like Alex in the gents race. She's hers to lose. But then behind her, you've got Kate, you've got Frith, you've got Sheena, who are just kind of swapping.
Yeah, really
between
runners,
between the three of them. So between those 4 women, there's
got Evelyn's she was a bit slow today, but actually yesterday she was good, and I wonder again if
Evelyn's not a climber.
She's not a climber,
but she's a runner, and I think she's going to probably catch up. So actually, that female race
play for the podiums.
is going to be interesting going into the long day. There's going to be a scrap for a podium there, I think, as well. So I think that long day we're going to see people win, lose, and drop podiums. I think all throughout the day. So it'll be interesting to cover that.
Well, that's it. It's 2 marathons down, and they've got another 140-ish kilometres to go from here. Doesn't sound too bad if you're on this side of Kabla, but if you're still up there, that sounds like an awful long way to go. Yeah. So when we see our final numbers come in, I wonder what state they'll be in. But it's been exciting today, and we're really excited to bring you all the coverage we can. We're now back in a bit more signal, so we should get some more updates out whilst we're on the course and in the evenings as well. So make sure you're tracking along at home, and keeping your eyes peeled on the Ice Ultra 2025, the first race in the Global Race Series this year.